Last week, the governor of Florida, Governor Ron Desantis, announced a proposal that would eliminate bureaucracies that revolve around the diversity, equity, and inclusion, and DEI and critical race theory. So basically, um, he would stop having taxpayers pay for programs that actively teach these these programs or these ideas um, within the public universities in the state of Florida. Um, it's really something that I think most Americans should be on board with, but it's a very divisive idea, very divisive thing. Is the vast majority of liberals are all on board for these programs, these what he called bureaucracies. I'll call them programs because that's kind of what they are, more or less, or ideas anyway. Um, the vast majority of liberals are very in support of these, and the vast majority of Republicans or conservatives are strongly opposed to these. And you kind of understand why. I think most people should be opposed to these programs, as they're really not relevant to today and what's going on right now. Um, we'll really go on mainly with CRT, or the critical race theory, is something that I know a little more about. Um, Critical race theory basically just states that racism is not based on personal bias or prejudice, but it's a systemic. Uh, it's systemic in that these have been going on for years and are still going on today. The systemic racism, what they call systemic racism, and I get a little problem with that because, and most people should. The the idea that there's this systemic racism still today is quite absurd, really, when you think about it. As really, inclusion and equality is something that the U.S. is very, very strong, on both sides. I think, the liberals really try and paint the conservatives as racist and all this and all that, but really, they're not. Conservatives, I mean, there's some that are, obviously, but there's a lot of liberals that are racist. In fact, if you want to be honest, liberals are probably way more racist than the conservatives, because they believe in handouts and all these things, that because they don't believe that the minorities can do things themselves. So that to me is a lot more racist than the conservatives are saying, hey, everyone's equal. That's our thoughts. That's a conservative thought. But anyway, critical race theory just says that racism is systemic and is part of the American culture, and that's the way it is, and part of the through the laws and everything. I think if you go back 60, 80 years ago, maybe 50 years ago even, that was true. There was some truth to that. Back in the 30s and 40s, back in the 30s, they did have what they called redlining. Basically, they kept minorities in certain neighborhoods, and these that were less, in these lower income neighborhoods and whatnot. And obviously, I think everybody agrees that was wrong. However, those policies have not been in effect for many, many, many years. They did away with those policies for many, many years ago. It really is equality, and I mean, they might say that, oh, we had this, but I mean, they're talking 3 generations ago that were in these policies, and now they're still blaming those policies for those, still blaming those policies from 2, 3, even 4 generations ago for them not being able to make it today, which just seems kind of odd, right, to me right now. But obviously, nobody's gonna deny there was some racism and racist policies years and years ago. Way back before, before Martin Luther King Jr. and all them, even into the '60s, there was a lot of racism still. Some systemic things, still a lot of, still a lot of division between the races, and everything, and that was wrong. That was wrong. I don't think you're going to find anybody that will agree that will say that was right. I think everybody agrees pretty much that was wrong, even today. But to blame those policies from years and years ago for not making a better life is pretty weak argument, I think. There's a lot of black people that have, or minorities, not just black people, but minorities that have pulled themselves out of those bad situations. There's white people that have pulled themselves out of bad situations and made something of themselves. America is one of those very unique places where, we talk about the American dream, and it's the American dream for a reason. It's a place where you can work hard and actually improve your life, and not only for yourself, but for your kids and generations to come. And it's something that I think is probably even more true today than it ever has been in the past, because there is zero laws on the books that are actually racist. There is no racist laws on the books now. Everybody has the equality. They've got laws passed where you cannot discriminate based on race, gender, sexual identity, whatever that may be. The anti-discrimination laws are extremely, inclusive of everyone, and it blows my mind that people still believe that, systemic racism is a thing. Yeah, I'll give you 50, 60, 80 years ago, it was a thing. Nobody's denying that. But the U.S. has done a great job of overcoming that, and not only overcoming it, but also changing that to where there is no systemic racism left. Everybody has the same opportunities here. Now, obviously, you're going to have, people that have a little more wealth are going to have a little more opportunities. But, there's a lot of poor white people. I've grown up in a middle-class white family, obviously. They didn't make a lot of money. We kind of struggled at times. We had, times where we had money. We had times where we were struggling. It is what it is. Everyone has that same, everyone can go, a lot of people go through that. But I've made something of myself. I do what I can, obviously, to support my family and support, do what I can do. And that's what most people need to realize. I think it comes down more to, less about, the systemic racism or systemic bias, whatever that may be. And I think you need to look more at try and be more responsible for yourself and understand why you're doing, what's going on with your life, and then you can decide more about it and stop blaming everything else on everybody else. Take some responsibility for yourself and make something of yourself. And I think everybody has that opportunity to do that in America, regardless of where you're at. If you got a good idea, if you got work ethic, whatever, you can always improve your life in America. And that's something that I think we need to really promote and start realizing, because that's something that is true. It really is. You can make something of yourself in America, probably better than anywhere else, because we do have all these freedoms that a lot of countries don't. Now, obviously, there's countries that have freedom, but they don't have that same kind of, economic, or, obviously some have economic freedoms or whatever, but you can make something of yourself in America more so than anywhere else because of the economy, because of the, the power that we have within ourselves to actually improve our lives. And I think we need to take, some self-responsibility and realize that, instead of trying to blame something from, 50, 60, 80, 100 years ago, whatever it may be, for laws that were on the books back then that haven't been on the books for, 50 plus years. So realize what's going on, take responsibility for your own life, and then you can improve your life.